We become our ailments. We become our inability to drop weight. We become our sleepless nights. We become our incontinence, right? We become that. And when I would meet with women, they would talk about, they wouldn't almost sometimes even tell me their name before they started going through the grocery list of what was going on in their body.
This is Doctor Talks.
Welcome to this summit, Hormones and Mental Health, Overcoming Anxiety, Depression, and ADHD in Women. I'm your host, Dr. Cassie Smith. I'm a functional endocrinologist. And today I have Jana Danielson. She's an award-winning wellness entrepreneur, transformed her personal struggle with physical pain into a mission to elevate women through self-love and empowerment. As founder and CEO of Bloom Better, she helps women discover themselves by integrating physical wellness with mental and emotional health, focusing on mastering mindset, movement, and metabolism. She is a Pilates master instructor, certified Pilates instructor, certified weight loss specialist, and Amazon International bestselling author. Jana created the Koosh Ball, the world's first pelvic floor fitness tool for women. She's also a pioneer in the mindset space thanks to the launch of her emotional intelligence AI app called Orchid, which we were just talking about. And so she's going to talk to us about that. She was the recipient of the 2023 Mindshare Leadership Summit Future of Health Award. It was a big deal. I was at Mindshare in September. She's coached hundreds of thousands of women globally, and she continues to inspire and guide them towards enhanced quality of life, confidence, and impact. Her work proves that when women invest in their health, they invest in their power to change the world. So thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Cassie.
So we were talking right before this about some really cool stuff. And so I think, if you're watching this summit, hopefully you're watching it because we wanted to talk about some of the things in menopause that maybe don't get as much attention as they should. So anxiety, depression, ADHD, just like the mental aspect that goes with menopause. And these are very real symptoms that can affect your life, right? And so a lot of times, unfortunately, in medicine, the treatment for that is here's a prescription. And my problem with that is that there is not a Xanax deficiency. There's not a Zoloft deficiency. There are not medication deficiencies that cause this. This is all things that we really need to address. And like you said, like mindset, we really need to address mindset and we really need to address like what is causing this. Now, hormone imbalance can cause this, but there are other things. And so you were saying to me, and I just want to kind of start with that because it was like mic drop. You were saying to me, you think that with mindset, people say it's important, but nobody really does it. And you were telling me something about the thoughts that we have. And so why don't we just start with that? Because I think that was very valuable.
Yeah, no. I think what's important to kind of kick this off is that, for myself at 51 years old, I feel like I am, head and shoulders in a better space than I was when I was 21 years old, right? At 21 years old, I would go to bed literally with 11 different medication bottles on my nightstand, and I would wake up and see those 11 bottles, literally. I was told by my doctor that the pain I was experiencing was in my head and that I was seeking attention. And that's when the shift for me happened, was literally 30 years ago. And so I went into a depression. I was newly engaged, finished my degree, and didn't know what my life would be like. And it wasn't until I found Pilates that I actually healed myself in 4 months that I had this big aha moment about the body, about health and wellness, our mind, how it impacts every cell in our body. And I realized that going to bed, looking at those 11 bottles of medication and waking up and looking at those 11 bottles of medication was actually a big deal in what was making me ill. And so through my learning over the last 30 years and, working with many, many women, we become our ailments. We become our inability to drop weight. We become our sleepless nights. We become our incontinence, right? We become that. And when I would meet with women, they would talk about, they wouldn't almost sometimes even tell me their name before they started going through the grocery list of what was going on in their body. And so understanding, and this is from Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and this is what really gave me clarity and confidence with what you were just saying. We pay lip service to this mindset. But here's the thing, we would rather live in our familiar past than step into a new version of ourselves in an unfamiliar future. And he backs this up by saying, we have every single day 60 to 70,000 thoughts. That's a lot of thoughts. But here's the kicker. Of those 60 to 70,000 thoughts, 80 to 90% of them are the same as the thoughts we had yesterday and last week and last month and last year. So we might consciously be craving change, right? Like we just want it so badly. And we do all the things we think we need to do. We eat the right food. We do our 10,000 steps. We get our morning sunshine. We drink our water. All of that is going to be minimized. The impact will be minimized if those voices in our head that are subconscious, we don't know they're happening. It's like a movie playing over and over and over. If that continues to happen, long-term change becomes a pipe dream. And then you hear women, and I'm sure in your office you hear them say, like, I've fallen off the wagon, right? That metaphor of being on a wagon, off the wagon. There's no wagon. There's no wagon, right? There is understanding how powerful your thoughts are. Your thoughts become your actions. They do. Your actions become your character. Your character becomes, how you live your life. And one thing I don't think a lot of women know is that the brain doesn't discern between success and gratitude. So if we employ a simple gratitude strategy, getting up in the morning, what are the three things you're grateful for? Speak them out loud. Think them in your mind. Even that can start to shift us. So, that's how I wanted to kick this conversation off, is that we have so much power as women. And I feel like so many of us are actually walking around this planet numb, sleeping, settling for a life because we were told or conditioned that this is what happens when you hit menopause. So you're just supposed to, deal with it, accept it, and you know, hopefully it's not that bad. But ladies, I'm here to tell you that that actually is not, that belief system does not serve us any longer.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's one of the like I worked on that last year, but that's my big thing this year is like being present in the moment. I feel like so many people are just numb, right? Like they wake up with this list and it's like I must do this and this and this and
Mhm.
this. And I thought of this last year. So I have a trainer and I work out with a trainer now. And I realized when I go work out with my trainer, because when I'm with him versus when I'm not, it's like he's got this like set of activities for me to do, right? Like I'm going to do these exercises this many times with this many reps. I was just doing it and just like doing it with like just mindlessly doing it. And, but when I worked out by myself, I was like, oh, contract my muscle. Like I'm just more, I don't know, present.
Right.
And it changes like so much when you're actually present. You're not just like, I almost used my workout as like a check off list, like everything else would be, right? But when you're actually present in the moment doing it, it's just different. And like you feel different, or everything's different. And
Yeah.
so I think that a lot of people, unfortunately, like you said, we're in this world where it's like you have so many things to do every day and you're trying to get through this, like your medicines. You had to get through all 11 of those medicines that you just become numb. And
Hmm.
it's like when you're numb like that and when you're not grateful and when you're not happy, then you're depressed and
Yeah.
you're anxious because
Yeah.
you have all these things you need to do. Then when you actually need to sit down and focus on something and do it, you can't and you feel like you have ADHD and you need Adderall or whatever because it's not that you can't focus, it's that your brain is like done. Like
Yeah.
there's too much going on, right? And we just don't listen to those cues at all, I think.
No, no. And I think while we're like kind of deconstructing this, there's a really important emotion that we all experience, the emotion of shame, right? And I think that that's for some women, that is like their modus operandi. Here's something I learned maybe about 3 or 4 years ago from a women's health perspective. And that was a mic drop moment for me. So the main nerve that runs from our brain to our pelvic floor and genitals in both a man's body and a woman's body. Okay, both sexes have this nerve. It's called the pudendal nerve. All right. The pudendal nerve is a motor nerve, so it sends messages. It's time to go to the bathroom, so the pelvic floor relaxes. It's time to pick up a heavy weight, the pelvic floor contracts. So it's a messaging center, but it also is a sensory nerve, which means it's a feeling nerve. So everything from pleasure through pain is also running through the pudendal nerve. Well, if you were to Google what is the Latin root of the word pudendal, do you know what pops up? What pops up is an area of shame. That is the Latin root of the word pudendal for this nerve that connects our brain to the most beautiful part of our body. It's like this beautiful magic cauldron in a woman's body where life, if a woman, because that's where life is created, right? We hold a lot of stress and tension there. And to know that we are actually born into this world with the energy and frequency of shame in and around our pelvis, from a women's health perspective, from a perimenopause and menopause perspective, that's a pretty big deal. And so just understanding that, it's not just you. It's not just you that, holds tension and squeezes, and there's fear and there's anger and there's shame in that area. It literally is all of us. And the first piece that has to happen to move through that is understanding that it's actually there.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's very true. I think, I take care of a lot of people just like you. And to your point, a lot of them come in and I'll introduce myself. Hi, I'm Dr. Cassie. Are you fill in the blank? Yes. And they just immediately like attack you with, I've been tired for this long. They want to come at you with like, I like to start the conversation with, nice to meet you. What do you do for a living? Like try to kind of get to know them. And 95% of the time, it's just like this word vomit of like, here are all my issues, right?
Yeah.
Here are all my issues, fix me. And it's like, I like to try to start on a positive note because I always want to know, like, well, what do you do for a living? What makes you happy? What drives you? Like, I try to, that usually doesn't happen. It's interesting because,
Yeah.
and maybe, maybe it's because they think, well, I'm coming to you and I don't know. But it is interesting that we all, like you said, we become our ailments, right?
Mhm.
It's not like because I take care of some very high functioning, phenomenal women. And I mean they do a lot of cool things in this world. And all they want to talk about are these, like, oh, I'm 5 pounds overweight or, I can't sleep. Right. But I'm like, but you do all these things to change the world, and so it is,
Yeah.
I think it's this mindset is so important, like you said, mindset, movement, all of this is so important. It actually, and metabolism, these things
Mhm.
help shape your mental health at any point in your life, but especially when your hormones are changing
Yeah.
so much. And like you said, there's this lip service given to mindset where people are like, oh, you should have a good mindset. But then like nothing is done. And mental health is very undervalued in this country. It's almost like a stigma if you see a
Mhm.
therapist. Like I'm very open that I see a therapist every week. It's the best day of the week. It's on Thursdays at 5 o'clock. I look forward to it every Thursday. I've seen her for a long time, but then some people, I mean, I've had people literally say to me, well, why do you see a therapist
Mhm.
every week? You don't need to see a therapist, and it's like, but you do. Like you need
Yeah.
to process things. You need to. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
So, how do you define like mindset, movement, metabolic health? Like, how can you explain these to like individuals and like how do these things help with mental health?
Yeah. So when you think about, alone, working on your mindset will impact your mental health. Moving your body will impact your health. Understanding, I mean, metabolic health, if we would have been doing this chat 12 months ago, I don't think we would have been using the word metabolic health like we do now. I think that has gotten a really big boost over 2024. And so just to help women understand that, from the metabolic health or the metabolism perspective, I think we've come to believe that, we think that when we're young, our metabolism is high and we can burn fat quickly. And when we age and get into, menopause, metabolism slows. But at its very basic definition, metabolism truly is how efficient is your body at taking energy from food and converting it into energy for your cells. Because when your cells have energy to do their job, they are going to serve you at the highest form, right? So
Mhm.
when you are doing your meditation, going to your yoga, doing your prayer and those mindset strategies, you can gain more clarity and confidence. When you move your body in whatever way you love to do, you will gain more clarity and confidence. When you understand, like I said, morning sunlight, making sure you're hydrated, you will get clarity and confidence. But here's the beautiful thing what I found with the women in my community is that, like if we were braiding our hair with those three strands mindset, movement, and metabolism when you braid them together, all of a sudden they amplify each other. And you start to realize that when you are out for your walk, that maybe you want to pull your headphones off and just listen to the sounds or smell the air because you're dialing into being more present, which is part of the mindset kind of recipe, right? That you, like you said, when you're working out on your own, you are focusing on what does that feel? Oh, what does my glute feel like when I do that? Same thing when you're walking. Can you feel your glute? The number one reason that people go from independent living to assisted living is because they can't get up and off the toilet. Well, guess what, ladies? That is a squat, right? That is a squat position. And so when we
Yeah.
understand and try and plant these seeds for why am I doing this? I am doing this. Am I doing this for a size on my pants? Yes, maybe that's one of the outcomes. But what about that longevity that we all strive for? Like, I think back to when I was young and would go to my great aunt's 50th wedding anniversary or 50th birthday parties. These women, in a very respectful way, looked old. They dressed old, their body moved, right? And I'm like, geez, that's me. I'm 51, right? I don't feel that. I still want to outplank my kids. And when you bring these pillars together and understand, like I said, how they optimize each other, it's kind of like putting fuel on the fire. And we are so conditioned to want to see an outcome. We want to see something different. We want to see maybe less of that double chin, or we want to see that tummy change, or we want to get a full night's sleep so we don't have a bunch of puffy bags under our eyes. But here's the thing is when we get so focused on being outcome driven, we miss the beautiful learning that happens in the process of trying to reach those outcomes. So that's where a lot of women get very frustrated is when we're outcome driven, then you get the women like you do in your clinic, Cassie, is I need your help doing this. Can you fix me? Versus here's how I can support you. Here are, your daily, I call habits in rituals. Those are chosen actions that boost your life. They're like the superheroes of habits in rituals. Well, when I pick up my bottle of water and take a sip, because I know that my brain is going to get hydrated first, my vital organs are going to get hydrated second, and my joints are going to get hydrated last. My fascia is going to get hydrated last. If I got a little knee issue going on and want to heal that, you better believe that I'm going to be dialed in and committed to getting hydrated because I know how my body is using that hydration. Ladies, there is absolute power in this education that you are getting in this summit with Dr. Cassie, and there's going to be so much information. It's not all going to stick the first time. And that's why it's important, I feel like, when you have these moments of learning to take advantage of them. What is resonating? And what resonates actually becomes learning. You're going to start living that information. And then we pass it on to others. And that's when it becomes that women's wisdom that I feel like we just gloss over. And I also feel like we're returning to that again. So that's where the mindset, the movement, and the metabolic health all intersect in this beautiful way to give us the longevity that we are craving.
Yeah, I like that. I think a lot of people are outcome driven,
Yeah.
very outcome driven, especially like high functioning women. And so they don't focus on the journey and the learning, they focus on the outcomes. And then that, it's kind of like I say this sometimes living in the gain instead of the gap. So Coach
Yes.
Knucklebird, I used to live in the gap my whole life and it was exhausting. It was like it didn't matter what I did, there was always more to do, right? And that's everyone. Like it doesn't matter what you do. Never, I personally don't believe that there's a single human on this planet that goes to bed every night and thinks, oh, I got everything I wanted to accomplish today. It's so good for you. Like, awesome. But what we forget is all the things we actually did get done. So I used to go to bed very anxious, thinking like, oh my gosh, I didn't get those 2 things done today that I really wanted to do. Negating the fact that I got 100 other things done that were really important, because I am very good at prioritizing by importance, right? So if I don't get something done, it's something that like just did not have to be done. It has to be done, I'll get it done. And most people are like that. Like if it's something that's going to affect you living, breathing, your children, something like, you're going to get it done. Those other things that you don't get done, a lot of times you may put pressure on yourself, but it's not something that necessarily has to get done. But I
Mhm.
think a lot of people lay down at night to the point of these symptoms we're talking about: depression, anxiety, insomnia. Some of you people listening to this that have these, you're the people who lay down at night and go, oh my gosh, I still have 5 things on my to-do list I didn't get done. And oh my gosh, let me roll over and put another one on there that just popped into my head. Instead of thinking like, oh my gosh, I got all my children fed today. I got them all to school. We did their homework. I made sure everyone had a nutritious dinner. I got my job done. I did some laundry. Like all the things that you actually did do to make the world go around, or maybe you're in a later stage of your life where you're not dealing with kids, but I got all this stuff done at work, and I made sure that I dropped my husband's clothes off at the dry cleaner, and I made sure he had dinner, and, I took myself to the gym. Like all these things you get done, you just like, I don't know, forget that. Don't give yourself credit for that. It's just
Yeah.
like on your checklist to do.
Mhm.
And I think that's a lot of the problem too. And so then your mindset is always, you're not good enough, you didn't get enough done, and so then that, when you have that negative mindset, and I want you to talk to this, that drives the anxiety and depression, right? And then the other thing that I hate, that I think a lot of women are in this toxic culture right now. I had this conversation with somebody yesterday. I go to the gym. This lady, this particular person works out every single day. I go to the gym every single day. I lift every single day, at least 20, sometimes 40 minutes. But I don't do enough cardio. I only do like 20 minutes of cardio every day. And I'm like, dear God, you work out like 3 times more than I do. And so it's just like, it's never enough, no matter
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
And I think some of that is society. Some of that is social media. Some of that is just, I don't know. Do we just naturally compare ourselves to other people, or do we
Yeah.
just hold ourselves, like, are we always harder on ourselves? I don't know. Can you talk to some of
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. I created this what's in and what's out for, mindset, movement, and metabolic health, this list that I made for what's out for 2020, or what's so 2024 and what's so 2025. And this was exactly, part of the pieces of my list, that we live in this comparison culture, right? There's always going to be someone who looks to be doing it better. They drive a better car, they have a better house, the relationship with their husband seems better, they have a better job. There's always going to be that. And that's why I put comparison culture on my what's out for 2024. I also put on that list that believing that fitness includes a puddle of sweat on the floor every single day, or it's not worth it. I had on there in my what's in list, I had things like restorative movement. And I'm a big proponent of this. So I created something with the cooch ball and scooch ball that I have called terrain fitness. All right. And so if you think of your body as a garden, well, let's do that. Let's just come with me on this little journey. Okay. Our body is a garden. There are some gardens, think about, seeing different gardens that are just covered with weeds, right? They are neglected, and maybe you see some flowers popping through, or you see some vegetables that were planted popping through, but obviously, neglected. Even if there is optimal sunshine and optimal rainfall, those weeds are going to be suffocating the fruits and vegetables that are trying to flourish in that garden. On the other hand, there might be a garden that is meticulous, right? Meticulous. But maybe that meticulous garden has an owner that is using toxic spray to get rid of the weeds so that we don't even see the weeds. And we walk by and we think, oh my gosh, look at how amazing that garden is, but we don't understand what's going on underneath and the long-term implications of that strategy, right? And then there's a garden that we see that we're like, huh, okay, getting optimal sunlight, getting optimal rainfall. We see the potatoes, starting to bloom. Maybe we see the raspberry bushes with fruit on them. And yeah, maybe there are some weeds in between. I love to use that metaphor because our body truly is a garden. And Fitness is one little sliver of that formula. And so Dr. Amy Apigian uses this term for trauma. So she defines trauma as too much too soon or too little for too long. All right, like what a beautiful definition. Too much too soon or too little for too long. Ladies, that is all of us. We have all experienced that, whether it's been, going through our schooling, whatever level, high school, college, postdoctorate, there's lots going on. Whether you chose to become a mom, I mean, the physicality of growing a baby, delivering a baby, nurturing a baby, the relationships we have, we might not always be in the same city as our family, and being able to not have those hugs for so long. I know our middle son is a big, big hugger, right? And so when he comes home from college, he loves that physical touch aspect of it. So too much exercise that is too intense. So instead of, like I said, in my terrain fitness world, laying on your cooch ball and doing some breast release, doing some, lymphatic work to make sure that that lymphatic fluid is moving, that it's our body's garbage disposal system, can work wonders. Imagine a body that is being worked out every single day. We are going to put ourselves literally into that state of cortisol spike. The body thinks we're in danger because it's wondering, what the hell are we training for? When's the when's the big fight coming? Or when is the threat coming? Because we must be training for something really major to happen. We don't allow ourselves to think, if a lot of women will be like, should I go and do cardio or should I go to my yoga class? 9 out of 10 of those A-type personalities will choose the cardio, the hard run, the high intensity interval training over that yoga class or that Pilates class, because they'll quickly do the math in their head and they'll think, well, I'm going to get way more out of the 60 minutes running, because they physically get sweaty and their heart rate goes up. But for most of us, what we actually need is that 60 minutes on a mat, diaphragmatically breathing, getting that main muscle of respiration, shifting us into a parasympathetic mode, getting the diaphragm to start to talk to the pelvic floor because they're upstairs and downstairs neighbors, taking in 600% more oxygen when we're breathing that way, right? Like that's truly what our body is craving. And because we didn't come with an owner's manual for the different phases of our life, we just subscribe to what others are doing and that we are aspiring to that recipe or that recipe. And so bioindividuality, the N of one, like imagine that you are back in your grade 10 biology class and it is your day for your lab. You are your lab, ladies. Like what happens when I exchange 2 cardio sessions for a breathwork class and some meditation? What happens after 4 weeks? Let me commit to this short term and see what happens. What happens when I get my feet on the ground or my morning sunlight within half an hour of waking up? How does that help to reset my circadian rhythm at night? These, I feel like if I could invite one thing for the women in your audience, Cassie, is I want to invite you to be curious about your body. Like find a picture of yourself at 6 years old or 7 years old or 8 years old and ask yourself, would that 6-year-old version of yourself like go hard or go home every single day? No, there's some days where she's going to be rambunctious. There's going to be some days where she's just going to want to play house, and there's going to be some days where she's going to want to read a book, and there's going to be some days, right? And so why in our 40 and 50 and 60-year-old selves don't we honor that curiosity anymore? That's one of the major things that was on my in for 2025 is the restorative curiosity about our mind, our body, and our soul, and watch and feel what starts to happen to yourself when you reframe a lot of those belief systems that were promoted to us, right? The no pain, no gain. How often did we hear that? Calories in, calories out. I just got to burn more calories than what I take in, and the scale should tell me, the outcome. No, actually not. What about macros? What about how much protein you're taking in? How many, like, what's your good fat profile look like? So this is the curiosity. And this is what, like I said, summits like yours offer women is, huh, I didn't know that. Or, talking to your sister, you know what I just heard on this summit? Have you ever heard that? That's the curiosity, the spark that I feel like events like this gift women in your audience.
Yeah, and what's so cool about you saying this is I'm a huge advocate and proponent for weightlifting. Everyone that listens to my stuff knows this. I was honestly last year lifting weights, pretty heavy weights, probably 5 days a week,
Okay.
sometimes six. I don't do a lot of cardio. I might get on a stair and climber for 10 or 15 minutes, but a lot of weights because last year I was like, I really want to put on some muscle mass. The end of last year, I felt so terrible. My trainer could even tell. She was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just tired. Like my body's tired. I don't." And so I decided I went on vacation last week. I barely lifted weights. My husband was even like, "Are you okay?" I lifted weights maybe 2 days. But the days that I lifted, I felt really good. And I did a lot of walking. And I do yoga occasionally. It's hard for me to shut my mind off, but when I do it, I love it. And I did Pilates one day. Never done Pilates. Embarrassed to tell you that. Never done Pilates. I did a reformer Pilates class. It was the
Okay.
coolest thing. I loved it. I was like a little kid in a candy store. And so when we came back, I told my husband and I told my trainer, who's not very happy with me, I said, I'm going to work out with you one day a week for the next 2 months. And he was like, what? Because I've been working out with him 5 days a week. I said, I'm going to work out with you on Mondays and I am going to go to yoga 2 days a week. And I'm going to go to Pilates at least one day a week. I might go two. And I don't know what else I'm going to do, but I'm just going to do that because I feel like I need something different. And so I will tell you that this week, it's Wednesday now, I've lifted weights one day. I went to yoga. I'm going to go to Pilates today. And I'm just going to see. So it's interesting that you said that because I don't know, because I just felt like I was at this point where I was tired and I looked like I told you, I was lifting weights, but I wasn't really present and I wasn't really, and to your point, I'm in this busy point in my life where like, I had a lot of stuff going on. I'm trying to finish my book. I'm trying to make this course. And so I think I need that restorative, like hour time to just relax and
Yeah.
just like, I don't know, mindfully do something else because I do have muscle. I mean, I don't have, too much, but I have muscle. So maybe to your point, I need to get rid of some of these pesticide weeds things. I need to work on some of that as opposed to building muscle. And so it's kind of cool that you said that because I'm sitting here thinking like that's exactly, and I actually felt guilty when I texted him and he kind of made me feel guilty when he texted me back about like, what you don't want to. And so I have had this like, then I feel bad because I probably should be working out more. I probably should. But then when you just said like, you need to rewrite your own owner's manual, like maybe I shouldn't feel bad though, because maybe my
No.
body is telling me like, I need more of that restorative like time
Yeah.
because I'm stressed out all day, right? I take care of people all day. I'm 5 minutes behind all day. Some days I get to eat lunch. Some days I don't like, so it's okay for me to want to go sit on a mat and breathe for an hour and just
Yeah.
not be stressed. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's okay.
I think
You know?
that's a beautiful thing. And what you're doing, Cassie, is you're actually listening to your woman's wisdom, to your body. Your body is communicating with you. And what most women don't do is you're listening to it now. It's maybe not whispering, it might be like a little bit of a, in a quiet
Well,
voice. But
I think
most
it's
women, pardon me,
I think it's
well, that's what I was gonna say is most women wait till she's screaming, which maybe that's what's happening with you. And the beautiful thing about the movement that you're inviting into your body is to optimize everything you're doing with your weight. So your weightlifting is concentric movement, right? Like those muscles are getting shorter and longer and shorter and longer in response to a load at the end of a lever. It's simple physics, right? But now with your yoga and your Pilates, what you're going to be working is the muscles are going to be working opposite to concentric, which is that eccentric or eccentric way. So you're going to be working your muscle fibers through a lengthened position through a range of motion. So now your joints are going to get yummy love. The range of motion is going to be improved. I bet you're going to see you should make like I would take some photos, maybe take a few measurements just to do a little N of one experiment with your own body. And then in 12 weeks from now, let's see, how you're feeling, how you're sleeping, what your body looks like because what I have known with the women that I've worked with who have been in that must lift weights, must run my 5 miles a day. And then we do a little bit of a shift, which includes some fascia release, lymphatic work, diaphragmatic breathing. They will actually release, and it's not necessarily fat, but it's the inflammation they've been holding on to because their body's been in this inflammatory state, trying to keep up with everything our prefrontal cortex CEO has been telling the body, no, we got to do it, more, right? They actually start to release a lot of the weight through the middle. We start to see their mental health improve because, again, we are a society of like outcomes for sure. So when we can shift the process and then the outcomes start to happen, then that CEO is like, huh, look at that. I didn't know. That doesn't make sense. We're supposed to work harder for those outcomes, not different. So it's not necessarily you're working easier or less, you're just working different. So good on you. I'm excited. I want to keep tabs and see how you feel over these next few months.
Yeah, and like I told you, I'm going to this yoga retreat at the end of February with these people who I'm assuming are like huge yoga. Like I've done yoga very minimal times. I can barely touch my toes. And so to your point, it's very awkward when I do yoga. I have a friend who owns a yoga studio and I'll go and I like to like be in the very corner and hope nobody's looking at me. But at the same time, like I told myself the other day when I went, I was like, you know what? I don't really care. I don't care if people can see. Like I don't. I'm here. I'm breathing. So like I kind of closed my eyes the last time I went because when I'm like looking around, and there are people doing headstands and all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, I can't even touch my toes. But the last time I went, I was like, I'm just going to close my eyes the whole time. I'm not going to open my eyes. And I'm just going to like, and I felt my body like just kind of like, it was weird, just like release. And then I was like, I can almost touch my toes. And like, it just throughout, it was more comfortable. And so to your point, I think I haven't done it because I'm uncomfortable. And when I went to that Pilates class, super uncomfortable. All these like skinny little ballerina people doing all this crazy stuff. I can't do it all. But the instructor was really nice. And she was like, oh, you're doing great. But I actually really liked it. So I'm going to do it, although it's uncomfortable and it's kind of weird and I'm not. But to your point, I realized I needed to do it because, my thought was like, I'll take any of you people on this yoga mat at this Pilates class. Let's go deadlifts. Like I could probably
Yes.
do it. But I can't touch my toes. Like that's a problem, like, so I probably need to work on that, right? Like
Yeah.
I need to stretch. So I'm actually kind of excited and I'm kind of getting to that age where thankfully I don't care what people think anymore. I'm over it. I think when you get into social media, you just get over it too. You have to real quick
Yeah.
because people are real nice with their comments sometimes. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens. That's my goal for 2025 with you. I'm out with the like, this is what everyone else does. I promised myself this year, I'm going to listen to my gut. I'm going to be attuned to myself. I'm going to be nicer to myself. So to your point, I'm going to get rid of some of these like
Yeah.
weeds.
Yeah.
I'm going to and so I think that's very important that people realize that. And so when you do, like you're talking about the benefits with weight, when you move your body and you do all these things, but what benefits do you see as far as like mental health with people? Do you see that the movement and the exercise and all of these things, do they actually help their anxiety? Do they help their depression? How long does it take? Like, what are some of the things that you see?
Yeah. So, it can be the length of time it takes before someone sees or feels a difference, obviously, is very individual. But here's what I know is that the the more vulnerable you can be to allow that guard, to your point of going to your yoga class and not being able to touch your toes, you did something just innately, Cassie, that I tell all of my women. Close your eyes, get rid of the visual stimulation, go inside your body and feel the movement. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about that. I love this statement because he says, thoughts are the language of our mind and feelings are the language of the body. And when there is a disconnect between our thoughts and our feelings, so I'll give you an example of just to make that more clear. You're in line at the grocery store, you're in the checkout line. The clerk says to you, "How's your day?" What's our canned answer? "Good, fine, how's yours?" "Good, I'm having a good day, how's yours?" Right? In that moment, if you are in a state of depression or anxiety and you are, your stomach is in knots, you're maybe having a bit of even a hot flash in that moment, you feel your armpits sweaty, you feel, it's a challenge to take big breaths. What's going on in your body are all these little messages like, no, you're not good. Like, look at your guts in knots. You're squeezing your butt with all this tension you have. You have a killer headache. All you want to do is open this bag of Doritos instead of going home to cook a nice meal, right? So there's this inner dialogue between your mind and your body that's like, you're lying. You're not good. So when we understand that inner dialogue, that thoughts are the language of our mind and
Mhm.
feelings are the language of our body, we don't want to change that. But what if we lived a little less here or started here, but then closed our eyes and, maybe you just got off a phone call with your mother-in-law, or maybe you just got a call from the school or something at work and you're here in your head vibe? What if you just took a second and went in but where do I feel that? Where do I feel that? Is my heart feeling like a raisin? Is my gut in knots? And feel it and acknowledge it. So when people come in and start moving their body, it's like they have this canvas. And some canvases are like like a paint splatter. They're all over the place. Some canvases are completely white, not even a drop of paint. Some are being very meticulously and trying, we're controlling what the outcome is. Oh, geez, that line was too thick. I got to fix that now. So movement is medicine in itself because especially when you can go within, especially when you can get off the treadmill, get the headset out, lay with yourself, putting on, some sort of there's these amazing frequency type playlists you can get off Spotify that have healing frequencies or abundance frequency. And as uncomfortable as it might be, or as what is the point of this as it might be, there is beauty in that. Because, like I said earlier, we live in this state of sympathetic nervous system where the body is preparing for war. And that system, it keeps us alive because in those moments when we do need to get the heck out of a space because there is danger, you know, our thirst mechanism gets shut off, our hunger gets shut off, our heart pumps blood to our extremities so we can physically get out of an unsafe situation. The issue has become that we live in that modus operandi. The saber-toothed tiger is always right behind us. The danger is always right behind us. So we never get to tap into the rest and digest, right? We don't, I think I read a stat that said that 60% of North American families eat one meal or one or two meals a week at a table. Otherwise, it's in their vehicle in front of the TV. What do you think is happening when you're watching your favorite crime drama and you're eating? What do you think's happening to that nutrition? It's going into an anxious body, right? It's not being received in a beautiful way. So that's what I see when it comes to movement and mental health is that, the women that come to me that are defined, like we talked about earlier, defined by their pain point, you start to see like almost like the snake of a skin being shed and the vulnerability and the rawness get to like I've had many women, we'll be in a Pilates class, we'll start breathing, we'll start moving the spine because spinal movement is what Pilates is all about. The health of the spine dictates the health of the body. And they'll come up to me at the end and I'll see tears just streaming down their face. We'll be doing little baby swans, right? Which is a heart opener. And they'll come up to me at the end and they'll be like, help me understand what just happened. And that is where movement does become medicine, where it's like a little chisel and it's gently chiseling away at this hard exterior that we have believed for so long. That's how we have to show up as these super women. We got it wrong, ladies. An independent woman doesn't mean doing it all ourselves. It doesn't mean doing it alone. Even a wolf has moments where they are the lone wolf, but when that wolf looks back, there is a pack behind her, right? There's a pack of women that are ready to support. And that's oh, I'm just getting kind of goosebumps. That is what movement can offer the body and the mind and the spirit is like a playground. That's why when you said a Pilates reformer class, I was like, I love it because that reformer is like a playground for an adult body that can let down her guard and just feel her body move. So, you know what, that for me in my body on those 11 medications, it took me 4 months from my first Pilates class to literally weaning myself off of those 11 medications that 4 years of white coats and stethoscopes had no impact on my health. So that's what it took for me was 16 weeks of twice a week Pilates mat.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, what Pilates did for me was make me realize, like, wow, I really do need to stretch because, like, when I did those things, it hurt, right? And I was like, you should probably be able to do this. So,
Well, that
to
yeah,
your
and even yeah, go ahead.
no, and to your point too, like the whole when you made the comment about like we're as women, we're supposed to be this like hard person that gets everything done, and like it took me until 2024 to realize you need a team of people. And when you start having that team of people that you can rely on, it changes your life. So, like, I have a team of people now. I'm still working on it, but like, I have an amazing social media team. I have an amazing podcast team. I have an amazing assistant. I have all these, staff, like MAs. I have so many people that help me do things, and there's no way I could do it. My husband helps me do the AV, the audio for this. Like, if you don't have people to help, I have a therapist, I have a trainer,
Yeah.
I have, you have to have these people because if not, like, for so long in my life, I was like, no, you should just be able to do it. You should just be able to do it. You don't need an assistant. You should be able to go through emails. You should be able to. And when you finally are like, nope, I need the help, it's like, yeah. And then you show up so much better. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I show up so much better for my patients. I show up so much better for my husband. I show up so much better for myself because I want these people helping you. Now you just have to get the right people. And I sort of joke, but like I say 2025 is my year. 2025 is the year where you're either on the Cassie Smith Modern Endocrine MD train or you're not. Either get on or get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
That's it. And we're looking for people to get on and help, but like that's where you have to be, right? So that you can take care of yourself and so that you can, and like then you have to listen to yourself. And that's the hard part, I think, for people. It's like it's uncomfortable and it's weird. And it's like it is weird for me to ask my assistant to do things that I know I can do. It is weird for me to send emails to Stephanie and say, hey, can you book this? Or can you, but it also like I know I don't have the time to do it, right? It gets a little uncomfortable, but then the longer you do it, it happens, right? So to your point, I think that that's something people need to remember and realize too. Yes, I think everything that you said is so amazing, and I think that if we just listen to ourselves and we did more movement and mindfulness and did some of these things, people would feel a lot better.
Yeah.
So, will you kind of tell everyone where they can find you, where they can learn more about you? I guess your app,
Yeah.
like tell everyone that. Of course, we'll put it in the notes, but I
Yeah.
want you to be so tell people that too.
No, absolutely. So on all the social medias, just Jana with one N dot Danielson. That's where you can. I do have a free Telegram group called the Blooming Babe. So I'm in there, kind of twice a day answering questions, leaving little videos on. I do like little recipes and little restorative type movements. Or hey, you know what? I was feeling a headache. Come on today. I actually used my Swell bottle as my Tylenol today. Here's what I did. Right. So that's a great community, my YouTube channel, my Instagram, and then bloombetter.life is my website where you can see information on the Bloom Room experience, which is my community membership. I just launched a book last fall called The Sacred Woman's Guide to Blooming Better. So there's information there. And I mean, I'm just here. DM me. I am here to support. And this is the way I explained myself last night on a masterclass, or this is the way I explained women is that I feel like we are lighthouses in the ocean, right? What does a lighthouse do? A lighthouse shines lights for boats that have lost their way. Okay.
Mhm.
So just think of us, Cassie, you're a lighthouse, I'm a lighthouse, and we're trying to shine our light. And there's all these boats out there, but imagine a lighthouse with dirty windows. So the light we're shining, the boats can't see. What I feel like I love doing is showing women how to take a non-toxic cleaner, maybe some vinegar and water, and clean a little bit of their lighthouse window so that two things happen. All of a sudden they realize, oh my gosh, there are boats out there that I can help. I thought I was helping, right? And the boats are like, oh my gosh, there's the light. That's the way I have to go. When you talk about, getting on the Dr. Cassie train, that's what you're doing is you're shining a light. That's exactly what we do in this space. And it's usually because we've been in the dark and we know
Mhm.
that I mean, you can't know what health is without disease. or sickness, right? We wouldn't know what day is if we didn't have night. So in those shadowy moments that you and I have had throughout our life, that's how we become who we become. And that's how we can take that experience to show up for the women, to show them the contrast. It doesn't last forever. Winter doesn't last forever. This summit might be the kind of the little bit of momentum. Remember, momentum only exists when you have a moment and you add another moment and you add another moment. You can't catch the wave, right? Without having these little moments. And that's what you create. That's what I create. So bloombetter.life and Jana.Danielson is where I can be found on the World Wide Web.
Thank you so much for your time. I think that this is very beneficial. And so if you're listening to this summit and you found it beneficial, make sure you check Jana out, and then make sure you listen to the rest of the summit and share this with other people. So thank you.
Thank you, Cassie.
Thank you for tuning in to Dr. Talks. We hope today's episode has enlightened and inspired you on your path to optimal health. Each day is a new opportunity to make choices that empower your well-being. For more insights and strategies, subscribe to our podcast and visit our website, www.drtalks.com. Stay connected, stay healthy, and join us next time on Dr. Talks. Real talks from real doctors on the issues that matter to you most.